is a 2016 novel by American author Duncan Ralston, often considered one of the most shocking extreme horror novels ever written. It begins with an awkward meeting inside a rundown motel room and ends by revealing why that room was never chosen by accident. The story follows Angel, a lonely motel manager living an isolated life. More than anything, he wants to reconnect with someone from his past. One day, a woman named Shyla rents a room for the night. Angel recognizes her immediately. Years earlier, they shared a brief relationship that ended in tragedy. Believing fate has reunited them, Angel invites her to hear the story she never stayed long enough to learn. Meanwhile, Angel begins telling a series of increasingly disturbing stories. Each one seems unrelated. Each one pushes human cruelty a little further. Shyla assumes they're nothing more than grotesque memories. Then the truth slowly emerges. Every story is connected. Every nightmare leads back to Angel. The motel room isn't just a place to talk. It's the final stop in a tragedy that has haunted both of them for years. Eventually, Angel reveals the event that destroyed both their lives. The loss they tried to forget never disappeared. It simply changed them in different ways. Their reunion was never a coincidence. It was the ending Angel had been planning from the beginning. The room becomes a prison where grief, obsession, and guilt finally collide. In the end, Angel finally tells the story he couldn't live with anymore. Shyla finally learns the truth she spent years avoiding. The motel room was never hiding a monster. It was hiding two people who never escaped the same tragedy. Cows is a 1998 novel by British author Matthew Stokoe, often considered one of the most disturbing horror novels ever written. The story follows Stephen, a 25-year-old trapped in a nameless city. More than anything, he wants a normal family. Instead, he lives with his mother, a violently abusive woman he calls the Hag Beast. Years earlier, she crippled his only dog with a brick. It still drags itself across the floor. Desperate to escape the Hag Beast's control, Stephen takes a job at a giant slaughterhouse. His foreman, Cripps, promises to turn him into an alpha male. Instead, he teaches Stephen that cruelty earns respect and violence earns acceptance. Soon, the slaughterhouse no longer feels unnatural. It feels like home. Meanwhile, Stephen falls for his upstairs neighbor, Lucy. She believes poison is growing inside her body and dissects animals searching for it. Stephen ignores every warning sign because Lucy looks like the family he's always wanted. Then the slaughterhouse reveals its impossible secret: the cattle can talk. Their leader, a giant bull called the Guernsey, is preparing a revolution against humanity. Suddenly, Stephen has two families waiting for him. One waits above ground with Lucy, the other waits beneath the city with the herd. Eventually, those two worlds collide. Stephen realizes the Hag Beast will destroy everything he still loves. He decides she has to die. His plan fails. She attacks first. The crippled dog crawls across the room to protect him. She kills it instantly. Stephen finally snaps and kills his own mother. Instead, he loses everything worth saving. Lucy is gone. His apartment collapses around him. Even the cattle descend into civil war. With nothing left above ground, Stephen returns beneath the city. He kills the Guernsey, takes control of the herd, and abandons humanity forever. The man who spent his entire life searching for a family finally finds one. It just walks on four legs. Negative Space is a 2020 novel by American author B.R. Yeager, often considered one of the bleakest modern horror novels ever written. It begins with a string of teenage suicides and only gets stranger from there. The story takes place in the dying town of Arnhaven. One teenager after another takes their own life without explanation. Nobody understands why. Parents blame depression. Police blame drugs. Rumors blame something far older. Meanwhile, three teenagers, Amir, Jill, and Tyler, become obsessed with finding the truth. Each carries their own trauma. Each believes the next death can't be a coincidence. Soon their search leads to a strange hallucinogenic powder called Whorl. Users claim it opens doors to another reality. Some see ghosts. Others hear voices. The deeper the group falls into the drug, the harder it becomes to separate nightmares from memories. Then they discover the suicides may never have been random. Something unseen has been pulling people toward death all along. Eventually, friendships collapse under paranoia. Reality begins breaking apart. The living and the dead seem to occupy the same space. Every answer creates an even darker question. The town itself feels infected by an invisible force that nobody can escape. One by one, the people searching for the truth become part of the nightmare themselves. With nothing left to explain, Arnhaven simply continues swallowing lives. The mystery is never completely solved. The horror isn't knowing what's hiding in the darkness. It's realizing the darkness may have been there long before anyone noticed. The Painted Bird is a 1965 novel by Jerzy Kosinski, often considered one of the most brutal war novels ever written. It follows a child searching for safety in a world where every village hides a new nightmare. The story follows a young unnamed boy abandoned in the countryside during World War II. His dark appearance makes strangers believe he belongs to the wrong race. Every village sees him as an outsider. Every escape leads him into another danger. More than anything, he just wants someone willing to protect him. Instead, every new home introduces another form of cruelty. Soon, the boy is passed from one caretaker to another. Some exploit him, some torture him, others simply look away while violence unfolds around him. Meanwhile, war consumes the countryside. Soldiers arrive without warning. Families disappear overnight. Bodies become part of the landscape. The longer the boy survives, the less innocence he is left to protect. Eventually, he discovers that survival comes with its own price. Every act of kindness is followed by betrayal. Every moment of hope ends in another loss. The people around him become so consumed by fear that cruelty begins to feel ordinary. The Painted Bird itself becomes the novel's defining symbol. A bird marked to look different is released back into the flock, only to be attacked and killed by its own kind. Suddenly, the boy understands he has been living that same fate all along. When the war finally ends, the violence doesn't disappear with it. The boy survives, but the child who began the journey is gone forever. He spent his entire life searching for a place to belong. Instead, he learned what happens to anything the world decides is different. The Cipher is a 1991 novel by American author Kathe Koja, often considered one of the strangest works of psychological horror ever written. At its center is a black hole that doesn't kill you, it changes you. The story follows Nicholas, a struggling artist drifting through a meaningless life. He shares a decaying apartment building with his friend Nakota. One day they discover a mysterious black hole inside an abandoned storage room. They call it the Fun Hole. Nobody knows where it came from. Nobody knows how deep it goes. The only thing they know is that whatever enters it never comes back the same. Soon, curiosity replaces fear. Nicholas throws small objects into the hole. Every object returns twisted into something unrecognizable. Meanwhile, Nakota becomes obsessed with the Fun Hole. She sees it as the greatest artistic discovery of her life. Nicholas sees something far more dangerous. Then he makes one terrible mistake. He puts his own hand inside. It comes back alive, but horribly infected. The wound refuses to heal. Instead, it slowly spreads through his body, changing him from the inside out. Eventually, the Fun Hole attracts artists, addicts, and thrill seekers desperate to witness its power. Obsession replaces reason. Relationships collapse. Reality itself begins to feel unstable. Nicholas realizes the hole isn't simply mutating flesh, it's consuming identities. The closer anyone gets to it, the less human they become. With his body falling apart and his mind slipping away, Nicholas finally understands the truth. The Fun Hole never promised answers. It only promised transformation. In the end, the hole remains exactly where it was found, waiting for the next curious person to reach inside. Some doors don't need to be locked. People open them anyway. Brother is a 2015 novel by American author Anya Alborn, often considered one of the most unsettling backwoods horror novels ever written. It begins with an isolated family and ends by revealing what they've really been hunting. The story follows Michael Morrow, the youngest son of a family living deep in the mountains. Unlike his brothers, Michael isn't violent. He dreams of leaving the woods behind and living an ordinary life. Instead, he grows up under the rule of his grandmother, a ruthless woman who treats murder as another family tradition. Since childhood, Michael has watched travelers disappear into the forest. He knows asking questions only makes him the next target. Meanwhile, Michael meets a young woman named Rebel. Rebel is kind, fearless, and everything the mountains are not. She becomes the future Michael never believed he could have. Soon, he secretly plans to escape with her. Then the family's darkest secret catches up to him. The missing travelers were never simply robbed. They were tortured, butchered, and eaten. Michael realizes escaping won't just mean abandoning his family. It means betraying them. Eventually, those two worlds collide. Michael's brothers discover his plan. The family hunts Rebel before she can escape. The mountains become a trap. Every path leads back to the Morrows. Michael fights the people he once called family, but years of violence prove impossible to outrun. With nowhere left to run, Michael finally learns the truth. Some families protect each other. He only survives by destroying everyone else. The boy who spent his life searching for freedom discovers the mountains were never his prison. His family was. Toplin is a 1985 novel by American author Michael McDowell, often considered one of the strangest psychological horror novels ever written. It follows a lonely man whose desperate search for purpose slowly transforms into complete madness. The story follows Toplin, a socially isolated office worker living an empty, repetitive life. More than anything, he wants to become someone important. Instead, he spends his days unnoticed, watching the world pass him by. One day, he notices a young woman named Marta. Toplin convinces himself she's in terrible danger. Without ever speaking to her, he appoints himself her secret protector. Meanwhile, his obsession begins replacing reality. Every stranger becomes a possible threat. Every coincidence feels like part of a hidden conspiracy. Toplin follows Marta through the city, believing he's the only person capable of saving her. The more he watches, the less he understands what is actually happening. Soon, the line between hero and stalker completely disappears. Eventually, his fantasy consumes him. Ordinary encounters erupt into shocking violence. Innocent people become enemies inside his imagination. Every attempt to rescue Marta only pushes him deeper into paranoia. Toplin never realizes the greatest danger isn't following her. It's the story he's created inside his own mind. In the end, Toplin loses the ability to separate reality from delusion. The ordinary life he wanted slips away forever. The man who dreamed of becoming someone's hero ultimately becomes the villain of his own story.